Hello, world. This is Shruti Pandey, and today, again, on this insightful and wonderful, hopefully, for a podcast for you. That comment was for me, not for my guests. Okay. So I hope this is going to give you an experience of how you can start your startup journey. And to do that, I've invited another wonderful guest for you all. His name is Shak, and yes, SHAK. His name is Shak, and after working quantitatively, qualitatively as a tester for many, many years and probably decade. He has started up his own company and it has been working for very many years now. So it made only sense for me to invite a person like him for an audience like you. So, Shaq, thank you so much. I understand it's difficult to get time from people like you, but I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Shruti. Thanks so much for inviting, and more than happy to share whatever I can from my journey, from my learnings, from my observations. Please shoot.
You have tons of experiences, which is why I want to understand a lot things from you, and I have categorized my questions in three parts. And I hope whatever follow up comes in between would be okay. And I don't mind if you want to speak in English, Hindi, or even Marathi. So it's
Okay.
totally up to you. मला पण मराठी येते, मुंबईची मुलगी, तर मग थोडाफार आपण
Depending on your audience. Yeah, that's fine.
depending,
Depending.
because people in India, we love to listen to our not just colloquial English but even our local languages, right? So people, even
Mhm.
my audiences, are more than happy to listen to people in Hindi or other languages. So if at any point you feel like okay, English से ज्यादा अपनी आत्मीयता तो अपने languages से आती है, so please feel.
Yes.
And my first question for you is, like I was introducing, I hope I introduced you fairly because, again, tons of experiences. And अगर मैं वो बोलने ही बैठ जाऊँ तो podcast खत्म हो जाएगा. So I want to understand, you
That-
started off as a tester, as a QA analyst for 2000 boom wale time pe, and then you have worked for very many different companies, different projects, and you did great things, right, as a tester, even back then when you started. So, what made you to start your own company or your business?
Okay. Good question. Thanks so much for that. And yeah, I started as a tester. That was right from the campus placement after engineering. So very happy to get a job through your campus placement, and
Right.
getting a salary right after your college is obviously a very exciting thing. Not sure how many freshers have that in current
Yes, yes, it's so
context.
relatable to me. I don't know. Yeah, it's relatable.
Yeah, so I was very happy with that. And then my first company, Nuclear Software Exports, New Delhi. So they were forming a testing team and they wanted freshers and only freshers over there. Thanks to our mentor, Vinay Indurkar sir at that time. So he wanted only and only freshers to be inducted as testers. So got some basic training over there as a software tester. And somehow, I guess, paying attention to detail, observing the anomalies, and communicating them well, I guess, came natural. And that's how I became a tester, worked with them for about more than a year, and then returned back to Pune, obviously, Pune being my hometown. Worked with a company called as Canway, which is now Capgemini. Worked for a client called Morgan Stanley. And then I moved to the US, worked full time over there for RBC Capital Markets, and then I moved back to India after a couple of years. So yeah, journey has been well enough. I think paying attention to detail and having that kida, you can say, sorry to use that Hindi word,
No, no,
that way in
it's
terms of testing and not developing. So testing came, I would say, natural rather than development. I think for some guys it is more of development that comes naturally, wherein they want to write code or develop screens or functionality and so on. For us, it was more of like breaking the functionality comes first rather than building that. Though we are building something over there, I would say we are building test and not the feature, and we are helping to build the feature, but in some other manner, I would say.
I call it ethical hacking, right? Rather than getting hacked, it's better to
That's a
have
better
people
word.
like
That's a
this.
better word. Yeah,
Ethical
that's a better
hacking.
word to use. So I think that's what happened, and then became a tester. Remained a tester throughout my career. Did not ever want to go to any other stream. Also, be it development or anything. Did a little bit of BA, product management, support, and so on, but always wanted to be a tester. And that's the reason I started a software testing company. So throughout my full-time experiences, right, one of the observations what I had experienced and what I'd seen is that testers do not want to get influenced by the project teams. And which obviously I think current testers also might have the same observation, wherein they are reporting to a project manager or a program manager or a dev manager as such. So the idea of having that third-party testing team, which is obviously outside your development and your product team was always there, and that is what triggered to have an outsourced testing company for us. So that was the thing. Obviously, it was getting delayed. I mean, I was supposed to start it right after I came back from US, right after I returned from US, but got delayed a little bit in our own thing. But then, anyways, I mean, it happens when it has to happen. So that's how we started 2015. Then that way.
Wow, I mean, this is such a journey. And like you mentioned, all the big brands and companies and banks that you've worked with, even you went on site, right? That's what we got on site and everything.
One
US,
second.
you were in US. Like, how easy or difficult was it for you to think कि अच्छा चलो वापस चलते हैं and we'll go back? And wasn't it difficult for you? Like, it's a better life, right? Many of the Indians now find that, oh, being in US is like everything for them. So, what made you leave and come back?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. And a lot of my friends and relatives do ask me that because it was a huge salary with a very nice bonus. That's how Wall Street works. Everybody knows. So working on Wall Street as a full-time employee for a bank, testing their cash. I was testing a cash equities trading application. So it was very fun working with brokers and investors on the trading floor and working on one of the most complex applications over there. It was fun. It was stressful, but obviously it was fun with the amount of money also that you get paid. But obviously it was a wise decision, and I had to take a prudent decision to decide what did I really want. So you will be surprised that I when I actually left my job in the US and came to India, I had no job in it. So typically, people will actually find a job in India and then come. But I had to make a decision. I had to be with my parents. So that was a conscious decision, and I did not want to delay that further. I was trying to get them to the US, but obviously they were hesitant. They visited for some time, but then obviously, so I had to come back. I wanted to be with my parents. I wanted to be with my family. I wanted my kid to grow with them. I wanted my parents to see my kid grow and so on. So that's the typical, I guess, that Indianness that's always there with us. That never goes in whichever part of the world we are, US, UK, Australia, anywhere, let's say. So that is what brought me back over here. And when I came, I was jobless. So then I started my job search when I came back to India. Got into JP Morgan, Mumbai. So I was in your place, Mumbai. So I worked with them for a couple of months. Then I got to Eptara. So Eptara was in Pune. So that's why I always wanted to be in my hometown with my people, with my family, relatives, friends, and everybody. So Eptara, I was the first person over there to set up the testing practice for them. So that was an e-learning company, publishing company, and they wanted to set up the testing team. So I was the first one. I grew their testing team to 15, 20 people in a course of about 3, 4 years. So that's how the journey started, wherein I experienced firsthand on how to build a testing team, on how to build the team from scratch, wherein I was the first one and I had no idea what to do. And there were like 7, 8 products to be tested. So I was like, okay, let me first hire and then I'll do something because one person cannot obviously test so many products. And then that's how I got engaged in building the client engagement, building the test strategy, building the test relationship with new clients, and so on. And obviously, at that time also, I had the same thought of starting VTEST, but just got delayed a little. That way.
This is really very ambitious, and I think what has stuck with me when you were saying this, you're not just shag, you're like Swadesh wala Shah Rukh Khan. Like most of the people don't do this kind of a thing, right? I mean, I see so many people. In fact, even in my family, like once they are gone, and since the time you started talking about first job, first salary after campus placement, your story is like so relatable. I'm not sure, like you mentioned, how it's for the current generation, but at least I think I'm sandwiched between you and them. So this is relatable to me because I remember I also came back for my family. Yes, I came back from Pune to Mumbai, but still I did that because conscious
True.
decisions, and I came with a job. But when you was now I'll crack a joke here. When you were talking about your US experience, testing with, I have worked at JP Morgan and stockbroker liquidity, intraday liquidity, and all of that, so I know how crazy that is. Yes, I didn't work with the traders directly. I worked with my developers in US. But that relatable stories ended when you said you got good money. I think this was my joke. So I mean, I was like, इतना कर रहे हो कुछ आ नहीं रहा है, इतना पैसा इनके पास करोड़ों में है, like nothing is reflecting in my bank balance. So yeah, so that happened, and I was like, I need to find something better. But this is great. And again, that one point which you mentioned is so valid, because when I started with Infosys or Capgemini at our times, like little back in 2011 and all, we used to have this concept of on-site coordinator and project coordinator. So you're working here, you're doing
Yeah,
everything, and then you have those people in UK, US, wherever the client is, and you're
true.
coordinating everything, getting work done. And I think, wow, that's a good motive to start a company
Yeah.
with that kind of a vision, and like, okay, let's do something. Because I think you would have also gauged fairly about what happens in India and what happens there also, right? It would have given you knowledge about that also, right? Correct me if I'm
Yeah,
wrong.
absolutely. Absolutely. I saw the gap. You're right. You're right. I saw the gap. I saw the need, and that's why I took the plunge. So it was not like, so it was a well thought of decision. It was not like I took the plunge and then figured out. I knew there was a market. I knew there was a need. And I already had some fans, or I already knew some network which would come to me for me to test it. So, but obviously it was not only me to test it. I obviously wanted the team also along with it, but at least they appreciated what I tested. So,
So you're paying
that helped
attention
them.
to detail, not just help you with the testing, but also with this, the product market fit of your company,
Yeah.
and having a network help. Now, I get a lot of picture of how you did what you did, but I want to understand, once you started your company, Shri Ganesh ho gaya, sab ho gaya, abhi test shuru ho gaya. How did you manage to get your first customers? I mean, it could be 10, 5, 1, whatever. In
Hmm.
general, if you remember or recall, how did you get that initial paying people for you?
Yeah, definitely, definitely, and I very precisely remember because that's something which is very close to my heart. So our first client was my wife's last employer. So she used to be working in New York for a staffing company, and I used to work on Wall Street that way. So she used to be working for the staffing company in New York, and they wanted to launch a product, and they were building a product which was like a job portal, social media for job searching candidates, and so on. So they were building that, and they obviously wanted somebody to test it.
Hmm.
So obviously, if they wanted somebody to test it, they already knew me,
Correct.
and then that's how she introduced me, and then we got our first client. So my wife can very happily say that the first client came through her, and not because of the market that way. Then the second client came through some networking. That was, I think, some Yahoo group or some that we were looking at, and that was one of the Pune startups, and they were looking out for some support on testing because they were short of testers. So that's how we got the second one. And then the third or fourth client, I guess, was one of our past employers, Aptara. And I'm very happy to say that. So our past employer, my past employer, became my client that way
Oh,
because they already knew the kind of testing I was doing and the kind of
yeah.
testing what I had set up for them. So, like I said, I mean, network obviously helps. Your good credentials, your brownie points that you win during your tenure, the amount of credibility that you build with people, the trust that you build with people never goes waste, never goes fail. People do remember you for the good things that you bring to the table, and that's what happened with me. So the initial three, four clients were like just through network and just through our past experiences, which worked out well. And then obviously, like one thing led to another that way.
This is so surreal, and this is so sweet, because it reminds me of that saying where people say good things happen to good people. It's really like that. And I think the first project you really can't forget, because if ma'ams, like if your wife has gotten something, you can't dare to forget that, right? You have to remember it for your life. So
Absolutely.
this is great. And the fact that you, I don't know how to put this into words because literally I'm falling short of words right now. The fact that you had that kind of rapport where your network was so supportive and remembering you, I think I want to be a part of your network. And because
Definitely.
I don't find such good people every day, right? There are people all around and they have all their motive agenda. I can't help it. Everybody's doing their job, their business, understand. But this kind of vibe or aura is a little rare to find these days. So so happy for you, Shak, that you could do this. And so I mean you made it sound so easy. But yeah, this is great. And now to understand the final part of your story, like the finale of Shak ka story or picture or movie or whatever we are listening to, what do you think is like the biggest factor which still keeps you motivated or keeps you going, that okay, yeah, I want to still take VTEST to another level, another goal, or whatever that might be for you. I don't know what that is, but what still keeps you going?
See, in terms of entrepreneurship, right? I mean, entrepreneurship comes natural to me because my dad was an entrepreneur. So he had his own advertising and painting business. He used to paint boards and signboards and publicity for clients in Pune. So entrepreneurship was always there. I mean, he motivated me like, when are you going to start? And I kind of delayed, like I
Uh,
mentioned earlier. Right? So I kind of delayed. I wish I could have started earlier that way. And then my wife is also a co-founder. So obviously, like what you said, she found the first client. Obviously, she had to, because she was co-founder on that. And the name VTest, right? I was just mentioning, like, I mean, my team knows this. I mean, why we have the name as VTest is because that V actually stands for WE. So I actually told my wife that if we don't get anybody, then we will test, you and me. So at least there will be somebody in the team. But that didn't happen. I mean, God's grace, we still have more than 100 testers to test with us. Yeah, so sorry. So coming back to your point, yeah, what keeps me going? Definitely, it's the people. It's the people. It's the community. What keeps me going? Because my dad always told me that through entrepreneurship, you can create more opportunities. You can give more chances to people. We have, like you said, I mean, we've got good and bad experiences. I feel happy that we have good experiences more, wherein we have awarded a job to a fresher. They are now like 5, 6 years of experience. We've awarded jobs to, let's say, 1 or 2 years of experience who might not have done that great at interview, but we've still looked at their personality or their trust value that they bring to the table, still trained them, and then they've still honored and been with us for so long. So that is something that comes natural to us. And then, other than that, something new happening in the industry. That's what I enjoy. That's what I read about. That's what I try to adopt as much possible. So that is what happens. And then if the team needs my support, I'm more than available. I still travel. I was in Bangalore last week. I still travel to client locations, be it within India or outside also that way. So that is something what motivates us. It's on either side. It's either the clients or the prospects that they're coming for inquiries, or it's either the team members that way. And then self motivation. Obviously, you get probably you get motivated when you're talking to more people, right? There's so much that people need from you. So I feel more than happy that okay, why not contribute to that? I mean, a leader is somebody who can create more leaders. I mean, it's what we're just trying to do our best on that way.
where were you? Like, why didn't I meet you earlier? Is what I'm thinking right now.
We
Despite
were just
being connected on LinkedIn some way or the other, I don't know when that happened, but I'm like,
yeah.
क्यों इतने टाइम से क्यों मैंने आपके साथ बात नहीं किया, ये रिकॉर्ड नहीं किया? Because the first sentence which you spoke while giving this answer, while giving the answer to this question about, it runs in the family kind of a thing. And I think it's all about ethics and character and trust, what matters to me as a human being. I'm not quite sure what others look as an employee or employer or whatever. But the fact that I think the whole point of entrepreneurship or being a founder or starting a company is this exactly, right? How I create livelihood for other people also, and not just keep snatching from the society. And it is, I can't believe it's so refreshing to even hear something like this because the motive and agendas of people have changed so much in the changing time. But Wow, Shaq, seriously, आपने मुझे हिला दिया है. Still sticking to
Nothing
your
like that.
roots and still sticking to basics, and I think I can fairly call that out for you because literally you stick to your roots and you came back. So it's like fair enough in every way. This is a great journey. I'm going to save this conversation for myself for a longer time in my
Sure.
head and in my memory. Yeah. Do you think there was any aspect of your journey, or when you come to a podcast, like you were thinking मुझे ये भी बोलना था श्रुति, तुमने मुझे बोलने नहीं दिया? Do you think I missed out on anything and you want to add to that aspect, if anything you feel like it's missed?
No, no. One important thing, what I would want to call junior testers, or otherwise any of the testers, is to try to not become very routine or mundane kind of a person. Like what you said, right? I'm doing the same things in 6 months, and you're getting bored of this thing. So try to probably innovate in your daily activities. Also, what you want to do. You won't believe, at VTEST we have short surveys done, wherein we award them for any new idea that they bring in.
Wow.
So somebody suggests any tool that we want to use, somebody suggests a new idea that they want to implement. It could be a best practice, it could be something innovative that they have observed in other companies and so on. And we give them some small token of appreciation, kind of cash reward and prize for them. So be open to those ideas, because it's not like one person or one team can do it all. And that idea could be a HR idea, it could be a recruitment idea, it could be a testing idea, and anything of that sort. So I work that way, wherein it is more of democratic, you get to listen to people. So I want to encourage people also to speak up,
Wow.
rather than not go into that mundane thing wherein they
Dictatorial
feel
kind of a
very
thing.
sad. Yeah, exactly. I mean, they didn't want to feel sad, and they don't want to feel disappointed, or that I'm not being listened to or something. So please open up, please speak up, please voice your choice, kind of thing. That is one thing which is very, very advisable to testers. And I think to testers it comes naturally, but I still want to see more of it, and in the positive manner, not in the negative manner
Yeah,
as
for
such.
some of them, like you mentioned, and I haven't seen this much, I'm sorry to say, in males, where they are, like I mentioned to you earlier before the conversation, it's an internal feature. Testing मुझे पता ही नहीं था.
Mhm.
When you're
Mhm.
becoming an engineer, all you think is, I'll go and code the bestest thing ever. But when testing happens, it happens. It's destiny. And I think you and I were cut for it because it comes very naturally to us. But there are so many testers, even when I was working at different places, they are
Mhm.
so scared to speak up because they are like, "Arey, chodo, kaun batayega?" Some of them might not understand. They're just seeing a piece of thing and they are just testing and don't understand the whole picture. That problem still exists. It's sad, but yeah, it's there. It's better to mention the problems rather than just cribbing about it, right? You can't solve something until you understand the problem. So that's one part, and other part is like they are so scared to speak up. So this makes total sense. And while you remember my conversation, yes, not just at the beginning of the career, even now when I don't see some technologically advanced thing happening to me, it's like मैं क्या कर रही हूँ? So yes, it's you can't be doing the same thing over and over again. Like, what's the point? I mean, if that's not the point for developers, it's definitely not the point for testers, because we have to keep ourselves so much more up to date compared to development. How do we test until unless we understand the entire thing? So this makes complete sense to me. What an advice. And what I mean, I wanted to ask you, the last thing was like any advice to people, but you just mentioned it before that. Do you still feel there's
Simple
something
thing.
which is missing in the advice part? But I
No,
really want to
see,
ask you that also.
simple thing. What I tell testers, and I tell it to V testers also. I mean, we call it V testers. We don't call it employees or anything. We call everybody as a V tester
Oh,
over here. I'm also a V tester. So what I tell V testers is, prepare your resume. Let's say now this is January, right? So prepare your resume now. Now prepare it again after a year, and you go and see like a balance sheet of a company that you see, right? You see what is the growth over there. If it is not, there's definitely something that you got to answer yourself. And you be answerable to yourself. You're responsible for your career, right? So you be answerable for it. And you go and see if the graph is growing up, down, straight line, or whatever it is. That's the best evaluation part, rather than somebody else coming in and telling you what good or bad you're doing.
nice.
And if you don't feel good about it, obviously you got to change something. Maybe in terms of knowledge, in terms of training, in terms of grabbing. new tools or technologies. We don't know, I mean, anything. Or domain, let's say, what are we understanding? But you got to change. That is for sure. If you're doing the same activity year over year, uh, that's not good for you. That's not good for the team. That's not good for the organization.
Yes.
Anyways, that
Very, very, very true. I hope you guys were listening to that part really attentively and wholeheartedly, because there were like literally two blasters of advice which are like golden nuggets. And yeah, it's true. It's true. Every time I've switched a company when I was growing and learning is when I was like, यहाँ कर दिया मैंने सब, अब और क्या करूं? You know, when
right.
there's no challenge, if you don't challenge yourself and change thing and then crib कि अरे 10 साल से तो यही करते आया था career में, then it's your fault, not the companies or managers.
Exactly.
And you said it out loud, and you have more respect for me for that. I don't remember anybody saying that upfront here on the podcast. So massive
Right.
respect for that, Shaq. Seriously.
No worries. No worries. And anybody from our team comes with that plan, I'm more than happy to help with that. And we've already done that in our team, so I'm not ashamed of, or I'm not afraid of mentioning that. And that's been a good point for our team. That's been working out well for us. So, and that's what I want to instill amongst other testers also. Please do that. Please follow.
This conversation is really like a breath of fresh air for me. I don't know how you found this podcast turning out for you, but for me this is really very precious and priceless, and I appreciate it. If any thoughts you have which are still left, the stage is all yours, but I literally enjoyed having this conversation with you.
All good, all good. Feel free to reach out if I can help you in anywhere. More power to you, Shruti. Seriously, I mean, you're doing this with so many founders. Really, these kind of stories have to be told so that people get motivated. I'm not sure if little bit of motivation if I was able to add, but please do that. Push your limits. See what best you can offer, and go for it. And any support is needed from my side personally also. Feel free to reach out. My social media, my email, website, everything is available. Feel free to reach out. I'll be happy to help.
Absolutely. Thank you so
Okay.
much, Shaq. Seriously, thank you so much.
So,
More power to you. More power to you.
thanks so much, Shruti. You have a good one.